You are now entering the world of Musings of a Geek podcast network. Stay geeky, my friends.
Yo, this is Jay Bidwell here from jbidwell.com. Check out Hard to Swallow, your new favorite comedy podcast. Just here. Fuck, gangster's hard, bro. It's hard being a gangster. They right. It's hard out here for a pimp. That's why they won a fucking Oscar for that shit. Damn. jbidwell.com. J-Unit. Lube up. Listen up.
And
bring on
the antibiotics.
It's time
for...
What the fuck's the name of that show again?
Hard to Swallow?
What the hell does that even mean?
How do you feel about anal?
The program you are about to hear is long, thick, and hard to swallow. Consider yourself warned.
Holy shit.
Now, your host, Jay Bidwell.
Thanks, Eugene. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Hard to Swallow. I am Jay Bidwell, today sitting here with...
Red.
Dude, it's fucking bright as shit out. We are coming at you live today from a fucking park, but I figured, why the hell not take to the dog walking path?
Yeah, some people are going to wonder what the hell we're doing here, Jay.
I think my original goal was like, all right, we're going to play a little game called Race the Battery, because I have my laptop and no plug-in, so...
Yeah.
This very well could be
Let's
the
be
lost.
honest, your battery sucks.
But I thought maybe we come out here because of the whole Robin Williams situation. Everyone's kind of covered it. We're going to be the last here to pretty much cover it. I put it off for a bit. I was like, all right, everybody's talking right now. But I figured maybe we could take to the path here and talk to some real folk about some real issues. Robin Williams, what was your thoughts?
I loved him, but I know he's a very depressed person.
Did you know that? Was that public knowledge?
Not really, but you could tell some of his movies.
How can you tell in his movies if he's acting well?
Well, when he was depressed...
You said he was a good actor. How the hell can you tell that in the movies?
I was a very big fan of him. I actually recently saw Good Morning Vietnam. As in terms of the movie itself...
You're the last person in the world to see the fucking movie?
I know. As in terms of the movie itself, I didn't think it was very good, but his acting was good. If that makes any sense.
See, I always thought he was way over the top for my liking. I was never a fan. He's a really big personality. Almost like flamboyant. That's why I always kind of thought he was gay. I literally thought before all this suicide shit,
you don't like his
I thought for
stand-up,
sure we would hear like he's gay. Like Travolta, you're just hearing all the shit about Travolta now.
What, is he gay?
That's what they're saying. They're talking... I think we got some kids coming.
Yeah, let's not do that.
but I think that I kind of assumed that would come out before any of the suicide news.
Well, the reason I said that he may have been a good actor, but I think that you could tell that he was depressed because he was so active.
Excuse me, miss, would you like to weigh in on Robin Williams passing at all? I was just going to ask your opinion if you were a fan and if you were affected by it in any way.
I'm Andrea, and who are you?
Luke.
You were a big fan of his?
Yes. Of course, he was a wonderful comedian. He was a fantastic comedian, and I think he just had some demons.
Were you ever affected by suicide at all?
Not personally, no.
You always think, like, success and money can make you happy, but apparently we learned that's not the case. What was your favorite film of his?
Robin Williams was probably Aladdin.
I think that's everybody's favorite. Was that your favorite, too?
Yeah.
You like the genie?
Yeah.
Can you sing the song at all? Do you know the song?
No.
Ain't never had a friend like me. Uh-oh, my phone's ringing. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you.
See, you hear rumors and you don't know whether it's factual or not, right?
Right.
But I was told that apparently he attempted to slit his wrists first.
Wait, what? When?
They found, I don't know if it was a knife or a razor blade next to him, but apparently he gave up on that. Wasn't a big fan of that situation.
Well, it's probably painful, first of all.
So he decided, I guess a belt was the method he chose.
Yeah, see, I don't know if that'd be... See, I don't know, because I've never, tried to strangle myself, so I don't know if it'd be painful or not, but I think it wouldn't be as painful as a razor.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, what could possibly happen in my life that would lead me down such a dark path?
I mean, when I was younger, I was depressed and stuff, so obviously, as any teenager, they're always depressed. And I would say a few things every now and then, but honestly, it was just how everyone else is, just to get attention. Say, hey, something's wrong. help.
Right. So you didn't actually want to die. You just wanted people to give a fuck.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of it is. I've of course have had many a suicide in my family. I feel like I've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah, you have. You've talked about it.
And honestly, I've built up kind of a callus to it. I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck you. Because it's not you're affecting, per se. You kill yourself, you're out, you're done.
Right.
I think it's very selfish.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't ever think suicide's the answer. So, I mean, I actually really don't have much to say about this. I agree with you that it is selfish, but at the same time, it's just you do what you want to do, and not someone's not going to change your mind about suicide. If you're going through with it, you're going to go through with it. I've had a few people that I knew that attempted suicide, but they never actually did it.
What was their reasoning?
I have nothing to live for. No one loves me. My parents hate me. Normally, a lot of the time, the suicide is caused by family problems, from at least my perspective, from the people I've met that have actually attempted it.
Maybe it's good my family's all dead then, huh? I guess there's a plus to that for some reason.
What is my face right now? Am I speechless?
For the first fucking time, thank God.
Oh, fuck you.
How'd you like my interview skills? Did I do okay?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Oh, let's get these guys. They're
Yeah.
the young folk.
I don't know. Like I said, coming from a family that has a huge history of suicide, my family would probably be like, "Why the fuck are you telling the world that?" But I'm kind of a dick about it. Like I'm one of those guys who's like, "Stop being a pussy and call the hotline if you're that fucking
Right.
upset about it."
What's the number for that, by the way?
I don't know. You have to look it up. I'm sure you can Google it. I'm sure it's everywhere right now.
All right. Well, if anyone listening is think about that, go call them.
Hey, sir, would you like to talk to us for a minute? Well, actually, we're trying to get thoughts on Robin Williams passing, maybe, and suicide. What's your name, man?
Adam.
Nice to meet you, Adam. Were you... Ooh, I'm going to get fucked here in the leg. Do you have... We're live on the air! Do you have any thoughts on Robin Williams passing?
Not too much. I mean, I guess I was just kind of shocked by it all. I thought he was kind of a happy guy.
I always say that's kind of the biggest... Like, you're the class clown, you're hiding something. You ever been affected by suicide?
I've had a friend who's committed suicide before.
Is it recent?
That was about a couple years ago.
I mean, did he have kind of they say the chemical imbalance, or was it more a depression from family or friends?
I think it was more of a depression. A little bit of it was from bullying in high school as well.
Oh, really?
That's another
See-
subject. A lot of people I've met that were suicidal in high school were because of bullying.
Isn't it weird the effect that socializing in high school has on one? Because that is kind of where you come into who you are, and that rides with you for so long.
Yeah.
Were you bullied or a bully in high school, or just kind of in the middle?
I guess I would say I was more in the middle.
I-
More friends with everybody than a bully.
What was your favorite Robin Williams film?
Mrs. Doubtfire, of course.
Really? You liked the whole cross dressing, the whole.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for talking to us. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Would you folks like to talk to us? Are you sure? I just wanted to ask you maybe if you were affected at all by Robin Williams passing. No, not at all? I wasn't a big fan either. I was just shocked by the whole thing. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I guess the day you grow to accept suicide, something's a little wrong with you.
You're right. Just so they couldn't hear, he said suicide should shock us.
Yes, suicide should shock you.
We're new to this whole on the scene sort of thing, so.
Well, and it was kind of a spur of the moment thing too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we planned all this. But
Oh no.
hey, we got two people talk to us. What the hell? That's two more guests than we would have had otherwise.
Right.
That's two new opinions.
Yeah. How are we doing the battery life? Well, this is a speed show, isn't it?
We're doing pretty good actually.
All right.
I'm actually pretty impressed.
All right.
Also passed Lauren Bacall. You probably don't know her.
I don't know who that is.
We also got to celebrate the actors who didn't take the selfish way out and take their own lives. Also passed was the announcer for SNL. Live from New York.
Really?
It's
That guy?
Saturday. I believe his name was Don Pardo. I'm pretty sure. Like I said, since we're out here, I don't really have all my notes up or anything. But
Right.
yeah, the guy who's been doing it since the beginning, he passed away this week.
That sucks. I mean, he's one of those iconic.
There's something moving in the bushes behind me.
Is there?
Oh, God!
Dude, this is supposed to be a live broadcast, not a horror movie.
I know it's called a snuff film if you're being recorded, but was this snuff podcast? Are we going to record the world's first snuff
I
podcast?
guess.
Yeah, it was Don Pardo.
Okay.
And there was also a weird story that I seen. I told you there's
Dude, that
demons.
thing's fucking huge.
There's demons in the woods behind us.
What was that?
No. They made a big deal about this guy. He was killed by the police. The police. Did you see this? The one? No, this is a new one. I think you're talking
St.
about.
Louis one?
It was in California. They made a big deal about him working for Tosh.0. He was a production assistant.
Oh yeah,
Did you see that?
I read that about that. Yeah.
Of course, that's probably just their way of getting people to click on the article. But apparently, there was somebody who showed up to an apartment. Or maybe it was his own apartment. I'm not sure.
It was
with a
his
knife.
apartment, if I read correctly.
He stabbed some people, and the police were called. And one of the victims, two of the victims were shot while exiting the apartment. One of them was killed and was the kid who worked for.
Right. Well, from what I
His
understood,
name was John Winkler.
from what I understand is that he ran out with a knife, and
I thought he was just running after the other kid who had been stabbed more severely.
no, well, yeah, one kid had his throat slit. Somehow he's still alive and running. So I guess he didn't know too much. Murderer didn't know too much what he was doing and didn't know how to slit someone's throat, which I'm not sure how many people do know how to do that.
Right.
But and then the other guy.
I studied deeply. You wonder what I do all night? That's what I do all night.
We do watch a lot of horror films. But yeah, so he ran with a knife because that was his self-defense weapon, and the cops thought that he was the guy doing it. So,
would you ladies like to do an interview real quick? Have a good one.
Where's the two guys on the bench asking everyone if they want to do an interview real quick?
Hey, sometimes if I was walking down the street and someone was like, hey, put it back in my face and ask my opinion, I would probably go for it. You know me though. I'm like me. Listen to me.
Right.
I also seen a very funny story. The priest. I did a story a few weeks ago about a woman who claimed she received a selfie from hell that her grandmother had taken.
Wait. Say that again? What the fuck happened?
There was a woman who claimed that she received a selfie from her dead grandmother, and the picture was supposedly from hell.
Why did they say it was from hell?
Because it looks like there's flames, and there's like a snake around her neck, and her grandmother was dead for like a couple months or whatever.
Bitch, have you ever seen a sunset? It always looks like there's flames somewhere.
So I seen a new one, kind of related. It was a priest who claims that he received a text message from a demon after he failed to exorcise it from a person.
Yes, because I'm sure Satan's first thing is, haha, you fucked up. I gotta text you about it.
They put up a photo, like kind of a screen capture of the text message, and it's like demon face sup with a question mark and then demon face.
Okay, if I was a prankster and I was texting to a priest,
yeah,
that is the first thing I would go to.
But he claims that he received it just moments after a failed exorcism.
Well, wait, what was the exorcism though? Because if it was some kid, like a kid's family, if I was a kid, I'd laugh my ass off doing that.
Well, I mean, by the time you call in an exorcism, I think you're done fucking around at that point. I think you're desperate. Don't you think? If you're calling in the fucking church. You know how desperate I would have to be to call the church for something?
Yeah, that's true.
That doesn't make any sense to me. But, yeah, coming from a man of the cloth, of course, people are believing it more than they would otherwise. If I did it, they'd be like, "You're so full of shit." They're like, "What's the demon's phone number? I wonder." 666-6666. Like, oh, that's the original.
Yeah. See here. My grandma. She actually.
Isn't it nice being able to smoke while we're recording?
I know, right? My grandma actually. Her neighbor. Her address is 666.
Did you?
But
I was in California on a celebrity homes tour, and I think it was Nancy Reagan who apparently she had the city change her address, actual physical address, because it was 666 and she was so superstitious.
I mean, was this before or after presidency?
Well, she had that kind of clout definitely while they're in the White House. But
well, yeah. Well, they were living in the White House, so why would she care?
They all have other homes, though. You gotta have somewhere to go.
Oh, I know.
But yeah, it was up in Hollywood area.
Wouldn't that be weird? Hey, babe, I'm president now, so now we gotta live somewhere else for 4 years.
I don't know. I feel like some of them just spend most of their time at Camp David. I really want to know what the fuck goes on out there. I don't think they're having regular sleepovers and s'mores. What do you think really happens at Camp
They're
David?
politicians. What do you think?
S'mores and whores?
There you go. Yeah, let's call it that.
Saturdays at Camp David, s'mores and whores. Especially when Clinton was around. Honey,
Saturday-
I'm going out to Camp David to hang out with the boys.
Speaking of which, did you see the most recent ALS bucket challenge from President Crap?
Well, I'm glad you brought up that fucking thing, because I'm real fucking sick of seeing that over my social
I'm
media.
sick of it, but did you see the video of the guy who actually has ALS?
No, what do you do it?
No, he actually has it, and then he showed video of him helping his mom, and he's like, I'm sick of these videos, but at the same time, it is putting a great cause out, and if you watched it, I think you would change your mind a little bit. I hate the videos.
Isn't the sham supposed to be, though, that if you do it, you're kind of a douche because you're not donating anyway? Isn't it do it or donate?
90% of the time, though, the people donate anyways. At least,
Well, so they say. I can make a video saying I donated, and I could just go buy a fucking dildo instead and say, that's my ass rape challenge.
Right. Well, it was George Bush.
Oh, God.
No, and he was from your perspective. He was like, I do not feel the need to pour an ice bucket of water over my head.
If I want a cold shower, I'll just take a cold shower.
Well, yeah. He was like, I know. So I'm just gonna give him the money. I'm about to write the check. So you literally see him grab the pen. There's a checkbook, and he's about to write, and then his wife just pours a bunch of ice water all over him. I don't know what his donation was, but I know he still donated.
Well, as you know, Eminem and Rihanna were just in Detroit last night.
Yeah,
Apparently, he ended the show with doing his.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm super fucking sick of seeing these videos everywhere, and to me, it's pointless. Like, I understand the whole spreading awareness thing, but enough is enough.
Well, a lot of the celebrities that are doing it, they're saying, I'm going to do this just for entertainment, but at the same time, I'm still going to give a shitload of money. Like Charlie Sheen. Did you see his?
No.
He had a bucket. It was a stainless steel bucket, and he goes, all right. He was like, did the whole intro thing. He goes, all right, wait a minute, that's not ice water. And he pours it all over him. He's like, this is the $10,000 I'm gonna donate. And it's just a bunch of money just rained all over him.
That was Sheen.
Yeah, it was Sheen.
Well, that's good. At least that's a few. Well, that's a few coke dealers off the streets. That's a lot of drug dealers who are not getting paid tonight.
Right.
I wonder if he's still doing that shit. He probably still does that shit.
I don't know, man. Didn't he go to rehab?
Try to make me go to rehab. I said no.
Uh,
I watched the new Purge film last night because
would you watch the original?
I've seen the original. I did not like the original.
I didn't see
I
it
liked
either.
the second one a lot. It was actually kind of what I hoped the first one would be. It was, not set in a fucking house the entire time. It was actually out on the streets.
Oh, was it?
Now, what do you think about? Was it Kentucky?
The St. Louis. It was like St. Louis, Missouri.
Was it where the
Ferguson.
real purge is
Ferguson.
happening? No, I think that's a different.
Ferguson.
I thought Ferguson was something else.
It was Ferguson, and then they did other places.
They were rioting about a cop killing somebody, weren't they?
Yeah, something Brown.
But the purge was separate.
Purge.
People decided they were just going to do the purge one night.
The guy got killed first, and they were like, "Fuck this, we're going to do the purge."
Oh, the way I read it, those were completely different incidences, but that both ended in rioting.
No. According to what I read, it was the opposite. It was this guy died. We're sick of the police, so we're just going to purge. And it didn't end up happening, So.
Well, there were photos that were leaked online of buildings that were devastated, basically.
Oh yeah, no, looting was rampant. Like
looting, car fires and shit.
Oh yeah, no, like it literally looked like the movie. I haven't seen the movies, but I've seen the previews.
Right.
It looked like that, and it's still going on now.
I don't know what the fuck this world's coming to. Do you fear a civilization where people are just like, fuck it, we're gonna do what we want to do when we want to do it? I mean, we got some nice shit, bro. What if someone's like, fuck you, I'm taking everything you own?
Well, they brought in the National Guard. It got to that point. What the fuck was that?
Perils in the field, man.
I'm so glad we're not doing this at night.
I wish someone was going to come up and fucking, give me your fucking laptop.
Right. Now, we're in the nice part of Grand Rapids. Maybe if we were downtown.
How's it going, man?
He was too fast.
He was going pretty quick. I couldn't even...
You saw... What the...
There's some squirrels fucking behind us.
I think there is.
See him?
No.
I can't do squirrel noises. Look at him. He's staring at me like, what the fuck was that?
I don't see him. Where is
He's
he?
looking at his buddy like, John, did you hear that?
It's hard to swallow. It's hard to swallow.
That's not what your mom said last night. Anyway, so I kind of want to get back to the bar and do some more drinking.
I do.
We did, dude. We went because this battery is only half gone.
What?
Aren't you impressed?
Wow.
Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and cut this shit off because I have an interview with an amazing dude named Chad Meek who's shooting a documentary called Giant Rock the Movie. If you go to giantrockthemovie.com, you can find a lot of information about this amazing, amazing tale that he has. But I had the privilege of speaking with him on Saturday. We're going to go ahead and throw to our interview with Chad Meek right now, and it's going to be fascinating. Although, you might want to grab a beer. This guy fascinated me so much that my 15-minute interview with him turned into damn near an hour. So,
Damn near.
Sit back, relax, grab a beer, and learn a little something about those little green men from outer space who come into your room and apparently finger your butthole quite often.
Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody, we got Chad Meek on the line. How the fuck are you doing today, buddy, old pal?
Doing good.
Anybody who's not familiar with Chad can do a quick Google search, and they can find you all over because you are spreading awareness. Now, I guess we'll cut right to it, and you can start by telling me a little bit about your film, Giant Rock.
Yeah, Giant Rock, the movie, is a epic UFO thriller. It's based on true events that occurred, at least the first go-around. It's one of a three-part trilogy, at least planned, that began in 1930 and we take it to 1963. And it involves some of probably the more unique, eclectic, crazy, outlandish, whatever you want to call it, people that were around that all believed that they had made contact with extraterrestrials. And one of the main characters is my uncle George Van Tassel, which I had the privilege to know and grew up near at a place called Giant Rock, incidentally. Go figure. And Giant Rock is actually a giant rock. It's actually 8 stories high and a carved-out building that a man named Frank Kreitzer, my uncle, lived in, and I used to play in during the 1960s. So it's really kind of a very unique place that's still out there in the middle of nowhere near Landers, California. And anyways, we take everyone through the trials, the travails, the you name it, of these very interesting people.
So your uncle is kind of well known amongst people who believe in the UFO, right?
He was really the pioneer of the UFO, and they call it the contactee movement back then. Now they call it UFO experiencer or other things. But he held, of course, he held his annual space conventions, and that's what they were called. They were called UFO space conventions at Giant Rock, where literally thousands of people from around the world would kind of commune during a couple-day period each year.
So it was like the Burning Man of UFO enthusiasts?
Yeah, actually, it was a combo of Burning Man and Woodstock. It was really like it was an incredible, loving atmosphere where these people that had made contact with extraterrestrials, they would just literally kind of bask in their stories and their beliefs that we weren't alone in the universe. And my uncle was the great poobah, I guess, of all of it. He was the MC, and for many reasons too, because within the circles he was the man, and he spent he got countless. He did over, I think, close to 500 radio shows and over 200 television appearances. I mean, he was on the old Long John Neville show, who's a regular there, talking with personalities such as Jackie Gleason and others, talking about UFO. He was almost evangelical about his belief, and many of the things that he said would occur actually occurred. And so many things, he became actually a prophet. So, real famous guy. I went all over the world and ran into somebody or some group that knew well my uncle, and most spoke very well of him.
I understand that he may have attracted the eyes of some people who were not too pleased with what he was spreading. Is this true?
Yeah, yes, it is true.
There may have been some kind of dark turnout.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, he experienced the black ops, and some of the experiences were really strange, and many I found out since I started producing the movie and putting it together. Since I've been kind of out in the open with it, I've had a lot of people come to me and tell me many stories. Some of which I heard threads of growing up, but none of which this all come to real life. One of which was, of course, his big claim to fame was, in July of '52, he was told through his UFO connections with the Council of Seven Lights to tell the world that above-ground nuclear testing was ruining the above ground or atmosphere, as well as parallel universes. Go figure. Anyway, so and he said he actually I had the details of that conversation. He literally argued with these entities that didn't want to do that because it would draw attention to him and his family, and he felt he was going to be ruined. And it kind of came close to it, but and then the kicker was, it's okay to substantiate this. Just tell them that we will be over Washington D.C. during the month of July, and to substantiate what you're saying. And lo and behold, he sent out, telegrams to, Truman, to, all the government agencies, all the press, Life magazine, you name it, International Herald Tribune, the Los Angeles Tribune. And with listening, he sent out these written telegrams that, listen, stop it, the above-ground nuclear testing. Now, the backdrop of all this is that, it was the 50s. We were in the Cold War. We were, going in the Cold War with Russia. And so we were scrambling to get more and bigger, better weapons than them. So you have this guy out in the desert send out telegrams telling people that, to prove the point that the UFOs would swarm Washington, D.C. Between the 12th and 19th of July. Well, a couple things happened. It happened. I mean, one of the biggest sightings ever occurred over Washington, D.C., occurred during that time period. And so, anyways, they didn't like it. And so he eventually ended up on a group called COINTEL, which is a black ops group that more people are familiar with, that were after people like Martin Luther King, and actually even Robert Kennedy was on the COINTEL bad persons list. It was kind of like if you were anything out of the ordinary and you were deemed a threat to the peace and prosperity of the United
Sounds
States.
like that list has a lot of names checked off already.
It does. It really does. It's like anybody that basically, utilizes their freedom of speech, you get on the list. So, anyways, he did it, and it happened, and he eventually he ended up himself getting the cover of Life magazine, which is a pretty prestigious magazine at the time, and he also got put on the other list, and then his phone was bugged for the rest of his life. And there was a lot of dark activity, people trying to, discredit. He was a rounder. My uncle, no doubt about it. I mean, he loved women, and so consequently, pictures were sent to his wife from all these various places and things like that. And of course, my Aunt Eva, she's a long-suffering woman as far as that. I mean, it didn't make her happy, but she knew about it anyways. But
just blame the time. That was the time, man.
So, we've got the tricks were played on all the Kennedys and Martin Luther King and a whole host of things. They send nude photos to your wife. Anyway.
So he didn't stop him though. He kept speaking out.
Yeah.
And what kind of experience did he have at Giant Rock?
Well, he had his own visitation that was a group. What was quite common for all of us living out there was that we would really pull our beds or have an extra cot with a sleeping bag and we'd sleep outside, and just because of the heat. And it would cool down. It was just pleasant to sleep out there. So one night, he woke up, an alien from one of the many planets popped up and and grabbed him and told him, hey, come and look at this spaceship. You've been channeling us, and so here we are. So he apparently went up there and had his own experience with, in a UFO, in a spaceship, and was kind of showing the whole ropes, and then he did a little ride, and then brought back, and so that was his primary main contact. He had many sightings, and he literally would channel ships out to the dry lake, and of course he had weekly channeling sessions. Incidentally, the word channeling really is attributed to him, not to some of the later people that came, the metaphysical people that would channel spirits or whatever. When he was giving an interview to Life magazine, they would ask him, well, how do you do it? And what is? He says, well, it's like turning a channel. And so hence the word channeling basically got, and really my uncle was responsible for it. But he had many experiences, primarily he just had the ability to communicate with them, and I was too young to be a participant in it, but they went on every Friday, and some of the old timers I got an opportunity to talk to, he would literally change his countenance, would completely change, his face would change, his voice would change, and people were really quite impressed with the different. When he would talk to different entities, literally everything would change, and he would illuminate down in this dark cave, and a lot of weird things would happen down there. So inside the rock. So yeah, he was he was real McCoy as far as that stuff, and he was connected literally with every person at the time. That was in that had claimed that they had been involved with the UFO, and he was the go-to guy, and so many things. And military people and pilots always seek him out because he had this volume of information about the various extraterrestrial, which numbered there's about 80 different ones, and he had something. He would have information on most of them. So when the pilots would engage them inside the out in, would engage them while they're flying, they couldn't go to their superiors or talk to anybody about it because it'd be summarily dismissed from their military position. And commercial pilots also, if they reported, especially during the 50s and 60s, if you reported an incident, you're gonna declared a wacko and stuff.
I mean, it makes sense though. You're already in the air, and they could be next to you, going, "What the fuck is this thing?" But you hear a lot of tapes from pilots who describe these fucking bizarre things in the air next to them. And if anybody's gonna know what should be in the sky and what shouldn't, it's probably gonna be a fucking pilot, I would think.
Right. Well, first of all, and yeah, you would think so too, because number one, you don't get, you just don't walk up and say, "Hey, I want to be a pilot." It doesn't work that way. You have to, go through a tremendous amount of training, and you're just, acutely aware of everything, as far as that, and especially with some experience. It's just not like, and just to be able to technically, manipulate an airplane, up into the air and land it safely, and just be around. They just don't give that job to people who like to comment on various things up in space. And the other thing too is they all knew that it was a potentially career-ending deal. So they simply, and one of the problems that any of the military and is most of these people are pretty solid state. They're not your they weren't your beat marijuana smokers or junkies or anybody else flying around. The thing that these guys were, straight up, stand up straight arrow guys, and
how many people do you think wasted away, shackled up in the wacko basket, as they call it, because they reported their alien experiences?
Well, I think there was many of them, and I actually the more I guess the other question is how many, just based on the event, having their world put upside down, and not talking to somebody about that. Going from this Judaic-Christian belief that we were created 6,000 years ago, and this and this, and all of a sudden everything you've learned, everything you know, and et cetera, that isn't true. And then you're trying to integrate that within your own daily life. what happens is people get their noodle fried unless they talk to somebody. And the options at the time were, one of the few options was my uncle. And I was always amazed as a little kid. I'd go out this, they had a restaurant out there, and I'd see these helicopters out there. I'd see planes. I'd see military planes. And I'd see people in uniform, of course, everybody smoked. And they're sitting there inside the rock smoking cigarettes talking. I'm thinking, what are you talking to him for? I mean, it's like, who is this uncle? Who is this guy that I'm related to? Why are these people here? And that was what they were doing. They were chatting it up with him and trying to get to the bottom of their experience.
I guess it's a good thing that I'm an atheist then, because that way if I ever do have an alien encounter, my mind won't be blown, and my whole life's not going to be ruined because I didn't have the faith to begin with.
Well, it's funny. Some of these things. I come from this. In fact, within the script, I mean, there's a real conflict as far as with that, because there's a person which is would share some of the stories. He's called Chase. I have him in the script, and he experiences this whole thing when he tries to tell his fundamentalist parents about his experience and how they rush him off to Pastor Jack, who hence beats him over the head with the Bible.
I'm sure I've heard that with. I used to run a paranormal group where we would do ghost hunts, and I went to a very religious school out in Oceana County here in Michigan, and that's a big Bible thumping community. But I would take these kids out on these ghost hunts. And that would be their main thing. If something happened, they would go home and they would tell their parents, and their parents would tell them that they're fucking Satan worshippers and tell them they should be dabbling in these things.
Oh no, don't do that. You're rising the whole spirit stuff. It's disturbing because I'm not sure. I mean, we live in this marvelous world. One of the things too, and I love to. I talk to all kinds of different people, about this subject. Okay, so supposedly, and I believe this. This is probably true. Scientists, claim that there are 100 billion solar systems similar to the Milky Way, and and it's all energy out there. I mean, we see distant stars, but then just kind of conceptualize the distance between the stars and us. Well, that's not empty space. There's something going on between that and there. I mean, it's just the reality of the whole thing. So, again, the whole mathematical equation, as far as the probability of just pure math, as far as intelligent life form, whatever it may be, extraterrestrial, whatever it's going to be, as far as out there, and literally, I mean, I guess the smallest amount of numbers that you can come up to, I guess, is there's possibly 100,000 possible of amount of intelligent life forms out there, as far as within that stuff. And actually, there's a guy named his name is called they call it the Drake equation. Yeah, a guy named Frank Drake. He actually came up with this. He was a mathematician. He came up as far as the probabilities. So, I kind of, as I gain a certain amount of, as I gain a certain amount of information on all this stuff here, it's just, highly likely. Now, I've had my own experiences, and they were happened when I was very young. I've since then seen, unidentified flying objects that I could not understand what they were. And what they were was unidentified flying objects. And there are two different categories. Number one, I did have an abduction experience when I was 4 years old. Wasn't a dream, wasn't anything. It happened. It's reality. I mean, it just happened. I mean,
I was going to say, you mentioned that you were too young to take part in your uncle's experiments, but ironically, You kind of were unknowingly.
I was part of that. Yeah. Number one, it was a hotbed. There was it's a known hotbed of UFO activity, and I was actually a part of that, and not willing. I mean, I was teleported through a glass window, and as bizarre as it sounds, but we have quantum physics that actually
happens to me every time I drink.
Well, it happened to me too. It happened to me when I was about 8. To that 58 shit I rented, I found out what that was about. So it's me too. I mean, it's the same thing. But when I explain it, it's like it happened yesterday. And so I did have this event that occurred. Now since then, and I actually had several other, but could not remember them. I could only remember one, and it was the first one. And I literally was taken out of my grandmother's house out there, teleported through a window, brought on a table, had things stuck in me, and the next day I woke up, I was a stuttering idiot with a fever of about 150 or whatever it was. It was just so high, it was ridiculous. I was burned up, had to go to the doctor. So I vividly remember that experience as far as that. Now since then, I've had
maybe that's what happened to Mike Tyson.
I think it did happen to Mike Tyson.
That would make sense. He is kind of a stuttering idiot. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what we did is, in fact, I seen one. I have a ranch down in Mexico, and I actually saw one. It was about 4 months ago. I saw one. I closed up, locked up the various windows, and locked up the doors. Looking out there, I'm looking over the inside of the bay, and I see something sitting there, and I said, well, that's not a planet, that shouldn't really be there, what is that? And then it starts slowly moving, so I just look at the thing, and so I quickly went outside, and I looked at this thing up there, and it's moving, and then all of a sudden it slowly moves. I said, well, it's not a helicopter, I don't know what that is, and all of a sudden it goes vertical, and it disappears. I don't know what that is. Okay, that is a unidentified flying object. I don't know whether that's one of ours. I don't know whether we have the technology. We could have the technology.
And that's a good point, because people naturally assume if I see something unidentified in the sky, that UFO has to be alien, and that's just not the case. People don't seem to realize that we are experimenting with shit that we're unaware of as a people.
Well, technology is well hidden, and that's one of the part of the black ops as far as with the shadow government that I'm more and more convinced that that's occurred. I haven't spent a life. I've been really a fringe researcher most of my life while I was basically making a living and raising a family. With this stuff here. But as a the more I get into the darker side of this other shadow government, this other compartmentalized government, literally anything is possible, including technology that literally could utilize wormholes and jump off points and things like that. And really, one thing I'm more convinced now that truth is certainly more stranger than fiction, as far as the possibilities.
When you're doing your research, you have the luxury of the internet. Can you imagine if your uncle had these capabilities back then?
It's phenomenal. And,
to bring these people together so easily?
Absolutely. And think about that, the connectivity as far as me. I talk to people from all over the world in a real-time basis. It's not a letter, nor is it a phone call. It's right now. It's like right now people are talking to me on the internet from Australia. Okay, so it's amazing as far as that, and hence this is also too. I keep on looking as far as technology. I mean, I'm amazed as far as how quickly we have utilized whatever technology, from this vacuum tune to computer chips to all these. Think about fiber optics. Think about all this stuff. I don't know. And actually, I keep trying to run in as far as who owns the patent and where this stuff came. There's a dead end. There's actually, usually it's so confusing. There's 15 people that claim patents on all this, and attributed to one. It's hard to narrow down to one, because that's where you'd be looking as far as connection either through government or alien technology or something like that. But it's a huge black hole when you try to find where this stuff came from.
I did hear an interview with you. I listened to it today where you mentioned that you do believe that some of our technology has come from other life forms. Is this true?
I think so. Yeah, I do. And how it got enhanced, I don't know. And there's all these, and trust me, I get a lot of, some of the skeptical questions, that I get are hard for me to resolve, and I actually have to almost agree with them. I mean, everyone was looking for the smoking gun, type thing. Where is E.T. and where is that little gray man, et cetera, et cetera. But what is more frustrating is the people that come out and they unequivocally state what is going on, and then they die. I mean, either they die of old age or they're so far out of the loop, and this includes all the astronauts, which is, every one of those guys actually had a visual contact, some even more, Cooper actually had a more profound experience in the 50s as a pilot. But, it's usually after they die. It's as they're checking out. It's not happening in real time. Like, for instance, they're not telling you when they just popped off the moon, that they had seen something up there. Well, it's all hush-hush. And
It's just like these fucking mafia guys, though. You got people, admitting that they killed fucking Hoffa on their deathbed because they don't want to pay the consequences in the long run.
Right.
They're scared of all the bullshit Men in Black. You never know. I've seen so many stories of literally Men in Black showing up at my doorstep. No one wants to fuck with that.
And I listen. Again, this goes, Dr. Cushman. He's a neurosurgeon out of Nashville, Tennessee, a real person. He actually contacted me, told me about his dad. I researched his dad. His dad really was a rocket scientist. He was as far as he was an instructor. And he was working with my uncle on time travel. And he told me that the Men in Black made a visit to his house and told his dad that they were going to kill him, his dad, and his entire family if he didn't stop working, that they were too close to coming up to something, and with a straight face. I mean, it was like, so, this guy's a neurosurgeon. He's 15 years older. He has no reason to BS me or blow hot air up my butt.
Right. Why waste the time and energy?
Why waste the bandwidth? So here I am, I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I do with the information? I mean, I research and try to prove, and this is one of the biggest frustrations I have, is I get these very critical people from former directors of the CIA, not some underlying guy. I mean, former directors. The original director, his big thing was that. I mean, they get these ministers from Canada and high-profile people from England, and they come out and they unequivocally state what we already know about it. Extraterrestrial visitation. So they substantiate it. But yet, when it comes down to grabbing ET and having, I guess, the arm of Total Recall or something like that, where we can look at. I'm just not privileged or high enough in the food chain to actually see some of this stuff, and in part because if I did, I'd blab it 24/7. There would not be enough money to contain me.
Who the fuck wouldn't? Jesus.
Right. Yeah. So
there's no non-disclosure agreement that I'm going to sign over this shit.
No NDA. No NDA for me, because I'm telling you what I would. And it's incredible. Of course, it's this. I was in a meeting with a group of Chinese, and I was trying to explain the movie, and they're always trying to figure out what it is. People trying to determine, well, what is Giant Rock the movie? Well, really, it is what it is. It's really a true a story based on true events that occurred during that time period. And so, they try to compare it to, well, it's not Men in Black. No, it's not Men in Black. It's not, or Independence Day. It's not, so we're sitting there eating Chinese, and we're trying to, so it's kind of a combination of a few things. I guess the closest thing that we could probably compare it to would be more or less a Close Encounters of the Third Kind, only I think a little higher grade.
You're currently collecting funds for the film too, right?
Yeah, we're that's why I spend all my time. That's why I'm down here in California. I'm in meetings, raising cash, which I presented a budget of $30 million to these Chinese guys, and they told me they didn't think it was enough. And I said, well, give me a number, I'll spend the money.
Yeah. Wait, so you said I want $30 million to make this movie, and they said, oh, we don't think you can make it for $30 million.
Well, that's exactly what they said, and well, because also too, because we're talking some fairly larger name talent. We're reading the script of some very named talent, and they are right. I mean, I'm going to. We're trying to keep most of the revenue ourselves without giving all the percentages out the back door, because we really think it'll do well, not only here in North American release, but worldwide. And so what we're trying to do as far as the company goes is trying to hang on to our hang on to the revenue, which after you get past the theater owners and the sharks, the major movie film distributors, which everyone takes.
Do they assume that you're going to Mars to shoot the film? They're like, what?
Right. Well, Mars, but it's like Mars because, let's say, for instance, here's an example. So we get Matt Damon. What's he going to do it for? I imagine he'll probably want somewhere. I mean, I could tell him about the great benefits of what the film will do for humanity, but I think he'll probably still say, "Hey, I want $10 million." You're in the perfect time to be doing this movie because all you gotta do is go to all them celebrity assholes who already have a ticket to the moon for $1 million or whatever the fuck it was, and just ask them to do it while they're there. You're already gonna be on the fucking moon. Was it Ashton Kutcher and all them fucks? Yeah, here's a camera. Point it.
Yeah, damn it. I'll give you a producer credit.
Yeah. Well, I understand. I've been lurking you, so you certainly know about the whole credit fiasco. Everybody's mother wants a credit fiasco. Somebody corrects an eye on a screenplay or an apostrophe. They include something. What do they want?
On a related note, though, I am still getting my co-director credit, correct?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Now, I got a question for you. I heard on the other show kind of a little bit about your abduction as a child, and you mentioned that you believe it was the Greys. The Greys is the, I guess, a species of alien that you hear about a lot. I think the X-Files was synonymous with the Greys, and they're kind of the humanoid gray figures with the giant eyes, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that mostly what we're dealing with here is the Greys, or are there many species around?
We're dealing mainly with them as far as the Greys are, and I think that is who we've got this technology transfer with. And I think our government actually has to deal with them because apparently again I've been trying to figure out how we've got all this new technology and where it came from, and the majority of most everyone's experience is even beginning from the Hill experience in New York to a lot of people seems to be the Greys. They seem to be. There are other species, but they are predominantly the mischief makers as far as the alien abduction type things. I think that and I don't think that they're malviolent or I don't think that there's something sinister with what they're doing. I really think that there's as far as the abductions, I believe they're trying to get some sort of essence or procreation or something because and that's the what I've come to the conclusion as far as the why, and to.
So you think they're here trying to learn about reproduction?
Well, I think they've lost their ability. I think they're trying to harvest some of that essence. We as humans, it's one of the things that we have going for us is the ability to, to procreate. And I think that in some of these civilizations, and especially the Greys, I was thinking that maybe that might be that's the reason they're trying to grab something.
They are humanoid in form, which seems bizarre if you think about it. Why would a creature from another planet evolve the same way we did? I've heard that argument before. Like, why would they be standing upright, and why would they have human features? But I guess that would make sense if they're maybe here to learn about that.
That's absolutely one way to look at it. The other thing is, and of course the what people call the book of fables, which is the Bible. They talk about gene splicing with Adam's ribs. Really, if you're going to make something out of it, and really, as far as the human language and what thing is so not only backwards and backwards as far as which is the holiest of Bibles, both the New and Old Testament, but there are these threads of people trying to explain things, trying to basically make sense of stuff that they are, that they're trying to get in there. Now, as far as what they're saying, what comes out in print and what other of the Bible thumpers and the pastors and everyone who's trying to say it means is completely, it's ridiculous. I mean, but there is something there because it's one of our only few sources of any kind of written language as far as what was going on. But you go through all of that stuff, and it's really, especially the Old Testament, it's literally like it's like science fiction. It really is. I mean, it comes up very interesting, with regards to some of the stuff. And it all comes back into terms of genetic engineering. And so I think that getting back to the grades, I think that's what's going on. There's some sort of genetic engineering going on with that. And again, trying to develop better or broader species, of what. The humanoid thing, I mean, listen, that's, if you get into UFO circles, you certainly run into a lot of people that either claim they're a humanoid or, mixed breed or whatever. Their father was an alien, who God knows. But,
and don't you believe that they do walk among us without us knowing?
I do. I do believe I do believe they do walk amongst us. I don't necessarily believe everyone who tells me that their father was an alien. Like me, I would keep it close to the vest. I never told my wife any of my experiences until I was married to her after 2 years. So as far as me walking into somebody,
well, yeah, you figure you tell her before the vows, she's gonna be like, "This motherfucker is crazy. I'm out of this shit."
I was convinced of that. I actually was. I used to see my uncle. I'd sit there, and I grew up in L.A., and I'd be with the bros. We'd have a few brewskis. There'd be this, bamboo thing sitting in the middle of there, and we'd be watching TV. And, so we're sitting there having a good time. Then my uncle would appear on the television show, on the screen, on one of his many Discovery Sundays or whatever rerun that we're looking at. And everyone goes, "Oh, that's really cool, dude. Man, wow, what a trippy dude, blah, blah, blah." And I'm sitting there, yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Maybe had the Men in Black not showed up, he could have developed some of those glasses, like They Live. Like They Live. How fucking sweet would that be? You put on your X-ray specs and you see fucking Zibzor over there. You're like, holy shit.
Well, I pray every night for an alien to basically pop up. One thing too is if I saw a spaceship sitting there floating, outside my house directly, there'd be no doubt. Now, I have no problem with any of this stuff. Talk to those guys now. I'd be banging on that damn door to let me in, give me a ride, take me to your leader. Let me see you inside there. It's so funny because, but when you're a little kid, it's a little different thing. So my experience is different, and it's kind of. I've had this kind of metamorphosis as far as this, and with more information, I've kind of felt a lot more comfortable. But trust me, when you're going into all this stuff, you don't want to tell you don't want to tell your best buddy that you've basically been abducted by aliens. It just wasn't the cool thing to do or say. So
now it is. That's what I'm saying. Again, you're in the perfect time because people with the invention of the internet, you have all these people who have all these deep dark secrets that they can now go share with people who have the exact same deep dark secrets.
Oh, I know you're not alone. You really are not alone. And as far as that, which of course, that leads me to, Dr. Mack's story, which actually, I would, of course, would be interested in doing some of that. There's a woman who bought the rights to Dr. John Mack's story, which was a psychiatrist out of Harvard, did this huge study, and literally was crucified by his peers because he came up with a number that was so outlandish that no one could accept, and they thought he had lost his noodle. But he would, and I looked at some of his control questions of allowing people who claim that they'd been abducted or had an experience with, UFOs in some way, shape, or form. And his guesstimation that he put out there at first was 4 million people. They actually had, close encounters of the fourth or fifth kind with extraterrestrials, and literally the scientific and the medical community just basically burned him. Just literally made him. And this was a renowned scientist at Harvard until he said something that was that offended the orthodox view. And that's it wasn't just him. There have been several others. I've looked at their work, and it could have very well been, as far as that, there really could be that many. So with the internet, you literally have the ability to connect with maybe not 4 million, but you probably have the ability to connect with 4,000, maybe 40,000 people that have actually had the same experience. So I'm looking forward to doing some of that. And not only am I a filmmaker, and this is a feature film. This is not a documentary, but
and hopefully 3 of them. You said.
Right, hopefully 3 of them. this is, my avocation, when I research this stuff, is to get my own information. And that's really what I've always delved into metaphysics and various things. I went through the whole comparative religion thing, found out, that was not, you talk about it. I'm not an atheist. I guess I would really be referred to as a Gnostic, as far as that, not agnostic, but actually a Gnostic. Somebody believes that something's out there.
Right. You just don't know what it is.
Right, I don't know what it is. As far as the Santa Claus God, checking the list, checking it twice, want to see who's naughty or nice. I don't believe in that God.
He'll definitely find I was naughty. What is what's the most outlandish thing you've heard? No pun intended, outlandish. I heard you say that anything's possible, but is there anything that you've heard where even you go, you're so fucking full of shit that I want to smack you?
Well, listen, I myself am a skeptic. I sit there, I actually feel like most of the time my intelligence is being insulted when people are telling me. So I probe a little bit deeper, but I've gotten softer on that stuff, so I'm a little more acceptive. So, I guess you could tell me anything. You could tell me that, that there are truly little green men, but, as far as that goes, I've become a lot softer, a lot more accepting because, I've just come up to this whole thing is literally anything's possible. So the most outlandish thing that someone's ever told, well, the Men in Black things were, they've been real rough for me. Every time I hear that story, I just, the whole Men in Black thing is really, it makes no sense to me. So as far as outlandish, but the credibility of people telling me this stuff, I have to pause before I say bullshit or whatever, and I know people, listen, and I certainly can, expect people to say, oh, yeah, you were abducted, blah, 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 and I've heard that stuff, and there's a huge difference between, having somebody skeptical and somebody being contemptuous. I just am saying what I experienced in my time as far as that, and that's it. That's all I know. Now,
people like you, though, I'm more inclined to believe because you didn't go looking for it. If you're a 4-year-old boy who's taken from your room, naturally you're going to have fucking questions that arise, and over your lifetime you're going to start to look into that. But it's the people who go out there and maybe stand in the middle of the desert and do scream at the sky that you go, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing here? Like, why are you doing this?
Right. Yeah, get alive. Get alive. What's so funny is that I was on it was Eminem's network. It was some lady show or whatever. The guy was really cool. I really liked him. He was from Michigan too. His name was on satellite radio. Eminem and 50 Cent, they on this Slim Shady 45 radio. Anyway, so I was in L.A., and this guy goes to me. He goes, well, and he was very sincere, but I couldn't help myself. He goes, well, how do I come in contact with you? I go, well, what you do is you get on a very hot, you go out the desert on a very hot day, and you stand up there, and you sing these chicks for 4 hours. And I was really casted. He goes, really? I go, no. It was, I couldn't help myself. He goes, of course, it's Valley. He goes, you're really fucking with me. I said, well, yeah, I kind of.
You should have waited. You should have waited until you told him that, and then a month later he calls you. It's not fucking working, man.
It's not working. I'm still out here, yeah. But no, I don't have it. My uncle appeared to have some sort of formula that actually he had learned from Frank Kreitzer. Now, Kreitzer was the guy that was first out here. He was the German merchant guy who went out in 1930 with the help of my uncle's money and supplies from California. And he actually was the guy who carved the rock out. And he was a huge follower of Nicholas Tesla and Dr. Rudolf Steiner. So he was this really metaphysical, really quite an astute man. But they referred to him later on as Crazy Kreitzer because of he was claiming that that the UFOs were coming. So some of the techniques as far as channeling were brought to my uncle, and who had been going back and forth. And so he was my uncle was taught these techniques to communicate I have many. Why I'll say many of the challenge sessions, and I can't make heads or tails as far as how or what they were doing. The only thing I would get is just the weird various. They really sound like something out of X-Files. I mean, it's just really weird. Weird stuff. I have tapes of those. And it is interesting. So I don't have any, all of my stuff. I've never wished to see anything, nor did I ever wish to be abducted. But now I do. Now I pray every night, dear God, please come take me. Send the spaceship. God, whoever you are up there, please send the spaceship. Beam me out of here. But back then, I just wasn't interested. And most of my life has been I ran oil and gas companies. I've been in the mineral business. I mean, that's pretty much been what I've been doing with my life, so it really was kind of my day job was out of the realm of out of the X-Files, but just kind of looking to still figure, because trying to figure out all this stuff. These are stories I've shared with my own family, and my sister and I had an experience with my mother. We had a low flying UFO that zoomed us out in the desert. That was one with them, and the only one I've ever shared, I shared one with my son. We saw the same ship twice, come crisscross in southern Utah with us. So most of my experiences have been more visual, and I've been trying to figure out what the F, what's going on here? Who are these people?
It's like, do you feel like you have a fucking antenna on your head that is just going, beam me up, come at me, bro?
Yeah, right. I've often thought that, but I've had these weird, you talk about, paranormal experiences. I owned a college in the Midwest for a while, and so I used to play rock and roll when everyone was out, when we were remodeling the place. When everyone was out, I'd get my keyboard with my huge speakers in the chapel, and I would just start, just banging on it, and then all of a sudden, I heard this big marching, sound, and I thought it was my keyboard. I thought it was some sort of vibration, and it got louder and louder. And and you being a paranormal investigator, they call them the Legion, and I apparently had excited something, but this marching, just increasing as far as it sounded like about 10,000 people marching, and I couldn't figure. So I unplugged the keyboard, and I scooted out the door. I couldn't figure it out. Didn't want to figure it out.
No, set up base camp and camp. No, I'm just fucking with you. Get the fuck out.
I know. But I've had a lot of these weird experiences that I'm forever asking myself, because I feel like I've always mentioned George Costanza, because when people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, well, it wasn't a ufologist, or it wasn't a mad scientist. I said, I just want to be an architect. First, because I was trying to pick the most normal thing to be, coming from an abnormal world, So.
That's interesting, because don't they usually consider the alien life forms the architects of our world?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty impressive.
We're the archetypes.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is such a fascinating topic, and I had so many more questions that I never got to, but I would like, maybe I can have you back on here eventually. We're running a little low on time, but go ahead.
Okay.
Can you tell everybody where they can help with the film, where they can find you if they want to talk?
I'll give them the soupy sales pick. Go into your mom and dad's wallet and grab a $100 bill and send it to Chad Meek. No,
hey, if it works, it works. What the hell?
Yeah, it worked one time. Yeah, no, email me, Chad at giantrockthemovie.com. Want to participate in a movie? Hey, I would love to have you. The other thing is go to our website, which is www.giantrockthemovie.com. Just remember, all roads lead to Chad, as far as this. And Giant Rock the Movie, .com, Facebook, you can catch us. You Google me, you'll get to me. But
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, if there's anything they want to know about this subject, they can Google your name, and there's so much shit that comes up, which is good. You're out there, you're spreading the word, and it's just a fascinating thing, because who doesn't have an encounter that they cannot wait to talk about?
Yep. Yeah, so anyways, get in touch with me. Give me a yell out on email. Definitely will come out. And we're still working on getting the money to do the film. It looks like we've had a couple of close encounters with the funding gods, and I don't know what these Chinese people are going to do. Hopefully they'll land decide.
I think it's the
Hopefully they'll-
Korean people we're worried about, not the Chinese.
the Korean, okay, yeah, they were very nice people, but I was actually, really. I mean, our first budget was $30 million. Now it's $40 million. So God help us. Anyways, give me a shout out. I definitely would love to talk to them. And anything else. And hey, listen, this has been a great show. You've been a great interview. It's fun. At least it makes it a little light. It makes it a little bit more fun. It goes faster when it goes like this.
Yeah, dude. If you ever want to talk about this shit again, just hit me up and I will find time for you because I fucking love this shit. Everybody, do make sure you check out GiantRockTheMovie.com. Find Chad and all of his awesome interviews online. Thank you, sir, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.
We will. We'll be chatting. Hey, thanks again.
All right, bud. Bye.
Bye.
Well, I think that's going to do it, everybody, for this episode of Hard to Swallow. We talked to some folks about Robin Williams passing. It seems that he had a lot more fans than even I was aware of. I'm surprised.
I told you. Everyone loved him.
I don't get it, but, more power to him, I guess. But I was kind
upset.
of irritated that you have an obligation at that point.
Well, when I saw the Facebook feeds, everyone was like, no, this is a fake post. No way this happened.
Well, yeah, because every day you see so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, and it's
right,
all
but
fucking fake.
when you see CNN.com under it,
right,
you know it's real. Like, CNN doesn't do satire stuff.
Yeah, if you're reading from The Onion, you might have some problems. But other than that...
I actually had someone who read an Onion article and posted, was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. I was like...
That's hysterical.
Huh?
They are hysterical, though.
They're hilarious, but I was like, are you serious? Really?
All right, so until next time, I'm Jay Bidwell.
I am Red.
And we're going to go get some more tip on.
I do want to know what people thought about the live interviews.
Okay.
Did they like it? Did they hate it? Let us know in the comments. And we'll if you guys like it, we'll do more of it. If you hated it, then we'll just stop. I mean, we can go bar to bar if we want.
Thanks, everybody. Say good night, sir.
Good night.
Go fuck something. How's it going, folks? Good. Do you guys want to do a quick interview? Sure, why not? All right. So,
I'll give it.
There you go. There you go. That's fine. I just wondered if you were affected at all by the passing of Robin Williams and the way he took his own life.
Well, sure, a little bit. I was a little bit sad about it.
Were you a big fan?
I don't know if I was a big fan. I was a fan.
But have you ever been affected by suicide, personally?
A little bit, yeah.
What would make one commit suicide, in your opinion?
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question.
There's so many things.
Well, I mean, like, is money worth killing yourself over?
I don't think I would.
I mean, maybe life in jail? Maybe if you're facing a jail sentence?
I don't know, maybe.
How about a lost loved one?
Possibly.
You think?
Yeah.
Really? Well, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Have a good night.
You are now leading the world of Musings of a Geek podcast network. Stay geeky, my friends.